Hello everyone, I'm Sam Shibilski and I'm part of Marquette University's Applied Investment Management program. Today I'll be pitching the International Materials Company, Suzano, ticker SUZ-US, as a buy towards the International Equity Fund. Suzano produces hardwood pulp from eucalyptus paper, and it is the largest producer of eucalyptus pulp in the world and is the fourth largest company in Brazil. Hardwood pulp is a resource used to create products ranging from wallpaper and packaging to baby wipes. Suzano operates through two segments: pulp, which comprises 48% of its income, and paper, 16%. Suzano primarily sells pulp to foreign markets, largely China with 16% of revenues, US of 13%, and Japan of 9%, with its extra supply being sold domestically. The company was founded in 1924 by Leon Pfeffer, whose grandson David Pfeffer is now the current president of the board and sits alongside two of his brothers who are also on the board. The firm is currently headquartered in Salvador, Brazil. Suzano is a leading hardwood pulp producer in the world and is recommended for it to be added to realign the AIM International Fund with the benchmark both in weight of the international materials sector and its subsector exposure because the current fund is heavily weighted towards metal mining. Suzano's advantage comes from their leadership and experience within their industry and their ability to increase operating margins. Being a hardwood pulp producer for almost a century, the firm has amassed 27% of the hardwood pulp market throughout their existence. The firm has continued to improve and expanded along their supply chain vertically, often resulting in internal innovation. Through these innovations and external partnerships in technology, Suzano will be able to simultaneously reduce costs and improve the overall bioeconomy and remain a leader in their field. It is recommended that Suzano be added to the AIM International Fund with a price target of $17.76 with a potential upside of 55. Now on to our investment thesis and our first driver, China's involvement. The key drivers of global virgin pulp demand growth are packaging, tissue, and special paper. These drivers presented a production CAGR from 2009 to 2020 of 1.6, 3.4, and 1.2% respectively. These drivers combine to create an annual growth rate of 1.5% through 2024 in the hardwood pulp market. However, paper consumption in China has been a main driver in recent demand growth. Demand growth for pulp, both softwood pulp and hardwood pulp, is expected to increase beyond this 1.5% in the following years due to China's increased pulp demand to 41% of the total global demand. Simultaneously, due to COVID-19, global demand was weaker and global supply is lower than normal, with many businesses and schools operating virtually. In the short term, these effects from COVID-19 will reverse, and with reopenings, Suzano is well positioned to take advantage with their additional capacity of 1.1 million tons, or 9.1% of their total capacity that went unused in the previous year. On to the second driver, environmental impact. Suzano consciously places value on its environmental footprint throughout its supply chain and in its customer products as well. The firm encourages their clients to gain a Forest Stewardship Council seal for its products, which is an independent multi-sector council that ensures that the responsible use of forest resources. Another example occurs during the pulp production process, where wood is submerged in bleach alongside other chemicals, and Suzano has ensured that in its current iteration, over 90% of the chemicals can be reused in subsequent blanchings, and this helps to reduce costs and reduce natural resource depletion. On to the third driver, acquisitions and vertical integration. The pulp industry is highly competitive and saturated, so in order to increase profitability margin in recent years, firms have merged to experience larger economies of scale. In 2019, Suzano completed an 11 billion merger with its larger competitor, Fibrio. The merger has produced favorable economies of scale and generated cost-saving targets. Furthermore, Since this merger, other acquisitions joint venture activity has not stopped. One of the newest joint ventures is in Spinnova, a sustainable materials company that can transform Suzano's own wood pulp into a fiber ready to be used in textiles and clothing. Suzano's investment will allow Spinnova to build its first commercial scale production facility to be fully running in 2022. This will help Suzano gain a larger exposure to more markets and more customers than ever before. Now on to valuation. In order to reach an intrinsic value for Suzano, a 5-year DCF model is constructed utilizing a Monte Carlo simulation to help provide a sensitivity test for the risk-free rate, long-term growth rate, and other unique risk premiums. With a mean terminal growth rate of 1.25%, a WACC of 11.64% was reached, and an intrinsic value of $18.16 was assessed. Through multiple Monte Carlo simulations, an intrinsic price range of $9.75 to $22.16 was reached. Additionally, a relative PE and an EV to EBITDA valuations were assessed in the ADA valuation. A multiple of 12.72 and 10.37x resulted in the relative valuations of $20.49 and $13.81 for PE and EV to EBITDA, respectively. The peer group were weighted based upon their operational income similarities, and by weighting these valuations 60-20-20, a price target of $17.76 and an upside of 55% was reached. Now on to some of the risks for the firm. Commodity prices. Wood pulp commodity price is almost at an all-time high as of July, and this is immediately after its largest drawdown, taking place December 2018 to December 2019. The commodity price is largely out of Suzano's control, besides for their hedging and long-term price lock deals. Fluctuations and drawdowns in the commodity price will materially affect the firm's operating margins, profitability, and return on invested capital. Furthermore, supply and demand of paper products is also outside the firm's control, and although the short-term demand looks optimistic, the long-term demand and market growth rate may be indirectly damaged by the continued shift towards a fully digital age. Now on to Suzano's debt levels. Over the past 3 years, Suzano has greatly increased their debt, which is largely in part due to the Fibria merger in 2019 and partly due to COVID-19. Correspondingly, the firm has higher debt ratios than its peers, with a debt to EBITDA of 2.9. This ratio is just on the cusp of being concerning. However, with their EBIT growing at 83% over the last year and free cash flow averaging at 76% of EBIT over the past 3 years, this level of debt is manageable for the firm, but it should be watched. Furthermore, if the firm continues to take out debt and their credit rating is decreased, the firm could see their cost to borrow increase and a general negative sentiment on the firm's financial strength could set in. Lastly, the Brazilian government. Suzano is very dependent on Brazil, both in an operating sense, due to its production plants and forests, and then 16% of their 2020 revenues came domestically, but also in an economic sense, being domiciled in Salvador. The Brazilian government is not new to political unrest, with the former president Rousseff being impeached in 2016. Currently, another election coming in 2022, the public is split, with some of the public calling for an impeachment of the current president Bolsonaro prior to the election, while another portion are still backing and energized by Bolsonaro. This uncertainty could affect various economic factors such as inflation, exchange rates, tax rates, inflation rates, restrictive environment regulations, and liquidity restrictions, among others, which could negatively affect both Suzano and their customers. Walter Schalke has been CEO since 2013, and he leads Suzano alongside a board of 70% independent directors. At the helm of this board is David Pfeffer, who has been president of the board since 2003. Pfeffer and his family, namely his brothers and his grandfather, own 14.2% of the native Brazilian traded stock. Pfeffer's grandfather, Leon Pfeffer, founded the core of Suzano in 1924. By 2025, management is requiring themselves to reach 30% minimum of women and people of African descent, respectively, in either management, director, or board positions. Furthermore, the firm looks to increase its Brazilian education index in areas of influence by 40% by 2030. In conclusion, Suzano is an industry leader who commands its supply chain and invests in technology to further improve margins and customer bases. Thank you all, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me with the email on the screen. In conclusion, Suzano is an industry leader who commands its supply chain and invests in technology to further improve margins and customer bases. Thank you all for taking the time, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me with the email on the screen.